See, here's the thing. I'm not pro-choice. If your choice is to not bake a cake for a gay wedding or not teach your kids about evolution, I'm very much anti-choice. Hell, I get pissed when people don't use the Oxford comma. I'm also not super concerned with bodily autonomy. You know, I'm generally a fan, but I don't get outraged about laws limiting the amount of meth you can shove in there, right? I mean, and when it comes to the administration of things like vaccines and antibiotics, I'm actually anti-bodily autonomy. Hell, I'm not even a big fan of the right to privacy that the Roe decision rests on. In my estimation, the right to privacy is wildly overrated, and it's only really necessary to the extent that the other civil rights are broken. What I am is pro-abortion. And I'm sick and fucking tired of hiding that fact behind euphemisms. Abortion is fucking awesome. I mean, seriously, name one single problem anywhere in the world where the solution is more humans. Really, in the best possible world, abortion would be the default setting and you'd have to go to some clinic to turn it into a potential baby. And look, I get that there are allies in the fight for abortion rights that aren't pro-abortion. Some people have moral qualms about abortion, but they recognize the need for its availability, so they support the right with a heavy heart. And I'm happy to march alongside those people and vote alongside those people, but I'm not going to cater to them so much that it validates their disquiet. They're just wrong. You know, they managed to vote right despite that, but I'll advocate my pro-abortion stance the same way I'll advocate any other stance. There are religious people who march alongside me for the sake of church-state separation, and I appreciate their help, but it doesn't slow me down when it's time to tell them they're fucking wrong. Now, personally, I get to pro-abortion the same way I get to pro-atheism, through feminism. I cannot imagine a world where women achieve genuine equality in a nation that doesn't allow them to choose when they have children or when they have sex, right? But even if you rejected that argument or gender equality as a reasonable goal, there are plenty of conclusive arguments to sway you to the pro-abortion side of the fence. See, anti-abortion people want to keep this argument focused on the whole, like, when does a fetus become a human gambit? Because that's ambiguous and it always fucking will be. Right? They're basically using the continuum fallacy to create a perpetual dispute so that the debate won't be focused on things like, is society better off when abortions are safe and readily accessible? Because that's a fight they can't win. Crime statistics, educational attainment, the cost of public assistance, gender equality, personal happiness, all those things are demonstrably improved in nations and states with better access to safe abortions. Right, regardless of where you fall on the political spectrum, I can show you a statistic that matters to you that moves in the direction you want it to move when you improve access to abortions. And because we have so much variance in access over time and across states, these numbers are as robust as you could possibly want them to be. Societies with ready access to abortion are just better societies, regardless of how you measure them, unless, of course, you measure them in hypothetical baby deaths. You know, and from our modern perspective, it's easy to look at this shit and see it as indelibly intertwined with religion, but that's not really the case. Well, it's true that Catholics pretty much always had a burr up their ass about abortion. Catholics don't run this country, and they never have. And up until the 80s, Baptists weren't really into this issue. By and large, Baptist churches and organizations either ignored or supported the push towards abortion rights. A poll taken right after Roe versus Wade was decided amongst Texas Baptists, a poll taken by the Baptist Standard News Journal, found that 90% of respondents thought Texas abortion laws were too restrictive. Okay, as late as 1979, the Southern Baptist Convention was routinely listed in newspapers under religious denominations that support abortion rights. That's a solid 6 years after Roe. You know, it's easy to look around the present day and assume that the Republican Party adopted the abortion issue to cater to these religious fundies, but that's not actually the chronology. Abortion was a manufactured wedge issue that started with the political operatives and then trickled down into the religion. It was specifically chosen because it could be cloaked in this perpetual moral ambiguity, and fighting for the lives of unborn children has a hell of a ring to it. So we have this bullshit wedge issue that most Americans agree on. Right? Like over 70% of the country agrees that we should preserve abortion access at least through the first couple trimesters. So, you know, according to math, this isn't actually very controversial. But they cloak the opposition to it in a label intentionally designed to be as demonizing and misleading as possible, pro-life. Right? And then they sell their fringe opinion to idiots with terms like killing unborn babies, which sounds downright diabolical, sure, but it's actually meaningless. It's fucking oxymoronic. Babies, by definition, are born. right? Like, if I think about one topic for a diatribe, but I ultimately decide on another one, I'm not deleting unwritten words. And meanwhile, this bullshit wedge issue cooked up by an unholy alliance between conservative politicians and Christian fat cats and promoted with ominous jabberwocky has real victims. And I'm not just talking about the women who can't get abortions here. I'm not talking about just the destitute woman in Ohio or the high school sophomore in Georgia or the 15-year-old rape victim in Alabama. I'm talking about the whole goddamn society. I'm talking about the crime statistics, educational attainment, cost of public assistance, gender equality, and personal happiness from before. Of course, there is one institution in this country that has shown us over and over again that they actually benefit from crime, ignorance, frivolous tax policy, misogyny, and personal misery. So it's no surprise that they're the ones you'll find steering this thing. And if we want a better society, there's no better place to start aborting.